Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another legendary episode of Racks and Rails, hosted by yours truly, Jacob Lindeman, and joined, as always, by the big man himself, Jeremy Lindeman.
What is up, everybody?
Yeah, we're pretty excited on our second episode. We're pretty pumped to keep it going, but today's, discussion, we're gonna talk about the turkey season, how that went down for everybody, and yeah, we're gonna dive into that. We're gonna talk about what's next. So, Jeremy, how's your turkey season been?
Well, it was a long turkey season, actually. We hit the ground from the opening day in Minnesota here. We went on, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different hunts. I'll have to think about that a little as we're talking. We had some rough weather. We had cold temperatures. We had birds that were acting weird. We had some success. We kind of had a little bit of, it almost seemed like it was like 4 or 5 different turkey seasons rolled into one. We went to 2 different states. We ended up with 5 birds between the 2 of us.
Yep.
So that, I was happy to have that, as hard as the hunting was. I've definitely had the easier years of turkey hunting. So, we can kind of dive into some of these hunts. We'll start out, should we start out with the first one for me and go from there?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, since you technically, we'll go chronologically.
We'll go chronologically. I like that. Yeah. That's good. We can do whatever we want because there's probably nobody listening to this podcast anyway. So
Well, we did have 12 for our first episode downloads. So you 12 out there, we appreciate you.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna give the 12 of you a hell of a show. So keep tuning in every week or 2. We'll get these out as quick as we can for you. Yeah, so I started out the Minnesota turkey season. I bought an archery tag, archery tags are nice because they allow you to hunt the entire season in Minnesota.
Yep.
You're only allowed 1 tom.
That's probably the only nice thing about them, but you can hunt the whole season.
Yeah, you can. And there's a lot of people that, they say that a turkey is meant to be shot in the face with a shotgun with some number 6s. They say there's a lot of people that just think the shotgun is the way to go for turkey, and I understand that because they are a lot easier to shoot with a shotgun.
Yeah, don't I know it?
Than they are with a bow. So but for us, we've hunted turkeys a long time and we've shot a lot of turkeys, and the adrenaline rush and the getting them close and the shooting them with a bow is much more satisfying than shooting with a shotgun. I love to shoot them in the face with a shotgun too. Matter of fact, 2 of my hunts were shotgun hunts this year and 2 were archery. So it's I understand, and it's to each his own.
Yeah.
Whatever you like to do, go do it, man. Hunting's hunting, and as long as you're doing everything legally and ethically, and and you like to use a shotgun, then go use a shotgun.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, nope. I probably shot half of I'd probably say 3/4 of my birds with shotguns. So.
Yep, and there's times that when the birds get tough, it would be really nice to have a shotgun.
Yep.
So I hunted the opener. I hunted for 5 days. And I think I had snow and wind for 3 of those days. And rain and cold and just nasty. And then finally on the 4th, and I saw nothing for them 3 days. The birds were they were hunkered down. They didn't want to be out there. I didn't want to be out there. It was rough. And I was hunting with a buddy of ours, old Big Ron.
Yep.
And he actually ended up getting a bird on the 4th day of the hunt, which was the day that the weather finally broke. So that, that one would expect that to happen, that when the weather finally gets decent that the birds were going to come out, and they were out all over. And I actually had an opportunity that morning. Had I not put the strutter decoy out, I probably would have had that bird. But instead, we talked about that on our last episode, that the birds were very timid this year. They just didn't really want to fight. I think a lot of that's just because the weather was kind of cold, and I just don't think they were feeling it like they do on some other years. So I sat up that morning. I was on a cut cornfield, from last fall. It was corn last fall. It was combined. So the birds were coming out there. There's a big wooded hillside that was kind of off to my right, as we'll call it. We'll say like the field ran north and south. I was sitting on the west side on a little ridge. I figured the toms would come up and strut. They talk about toms having a strut zone, and it's definitely especially you've hunted down there in that hilly country. They like to find the highest knob they can find in that field to strut, so the birds can see them. So I set up on that, started calling. I usually wait till about legal shooting time. I usually wait till legal shooting time, then I'll start with some, soft yelping to try to see if I can get if there's any gobblers close by to answer. Then I'll kind of make sure if there's nothing right around me, then I'll kind of amp up my calling a little bit, just getting a little louder. I mean, you don't want to call loud right out of the gate because you could be set up 100 yards from one, and if you call too loud, you're just going to spook them. It'd be like the difference between somebody yelling at you, versus trying to, they don't want to be yelled at to be told to come over here. They want to be coaxed,
Yeah. You want to be like, hey, come here.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to be like...
Instead of being, you don't want to be yelling. They'll be, it's just like if we were somewhere and someone was screaming their head off, we'd be like, what the heck's going on with that guy?
Yeah.
Or girl. But so I started calling. Pretty soon I got a gobbler answering me. I see him I could see up onto this hillside. It's kind of oaks and it's wide open woods, and I could see them working their way down through. And there was 2 or 3 different toms, and a couple of toms kind of worked over the hill to the south. And the tom that I was calling, he kept coming. And then some hens came out onto the field. And once those hens came out on the field, well, he just wasn't going to leave them. So he was just kind of following them around. So I just kind of kept calling, trying to call the hens over to my decoy. I finally did that. And then when the gobbler followed, I thought when he was coming up that hill, he's, directly to my right. I didn't want him to see me draw my bow, so I maybe waited a little too long. But I thought I'd have time once he got to my decoy, because normally when they come into the decoy, they'll strut around it, they'll beat it up. The Jeep decoy, that is. I had strutter out this time. But I expected him to come up that hill, see this other strutter decoy, thinking that guy's trying to move in on his women, and then there'd be a fight. And then, at that time, I'd draw my bow. But instead, he pops up over that hill, sees my strutter, immediately turns around and leaves. And then he went down to this little bench down below me and sat down there. He's probably down there for 40 minutes, strutting and gobbling, and I'd call, and he would fire up, and he just wanted nothing to do with my decoy setup. He wasn't a fighter. And, finally they just worked off, and I had another tom come in, silent, that kind of skirted me about 50 yards. I called at him a little bit. He didn't want anything to do with that strutter decoy. So, but maybe there's a big tom in that woods that's just kicking everybody's ass, so all those turkeys are beat up and they just didn't want, They're like, is that him? Is that Billy Bob down there? Damn it, we don't want nothing to do with him. He beat us up last time. So you don't know.
Yeah.
And then the next day I hunted, and I called in a bunch of jakes. but I didn't want to shoot them. Of
Yeah.
course, I could have shot them easily, so I kind of wrapped up my first hunt for Minnesota, archery-wise, because then I was coming home to work for 3 days, and then I was leaving again for western South Dakota. We won't say where because I want to keep that spot secret.
West of the river. Yep.
Yep, west of the river. Somewhere in South Dakota.
Yeah.
And then while I was doing that hunt, you actually came
Yep.
to northern Minnesota to hunt.
Yep. Came to the home farm.
Yeah, because we couldn't hunt together, and you couldn't travel, and school, and you're finishing up college and everything. So,
Yep.
And I took a good friend of ours out there who's 85 years old. His name is Jerry Tackley. Heck of a guy to hunt with. He's hunted turkeys a long time. What a inspiration he is to, I hope I'm able to hunt when I'm 85 years old. And just a great old guy with a lot of wisdom. And he worked in the electrical industry his whole career like I did. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's the dad of one of our good friends, actually.
Yep.
So it was I brought him with me. So he had just had, at the beginning of April, he just had a pacemaker with a defibrillator put in because he was having some trouble with his heart. And so here we are on the 25th of April going out there turkey hunting, and he actually did really well. We kind of took it easy, but we had a great hunt out there. I set up on this river bottom, I call it, and have hunted there before, so I kind of know where the birds roost. So when we got there on a Thursday evening, we went out and set up some ground blinds so that way we could slide in the morning real quiet. We set up those blinds, got up at 4 in the morning like you have to do for turkey hunting. Slid out into there, and same routine that I always do. A little bit after Susan was legal shooting time, I started calling and called in a nice big Merriam's gobbler right into the decoys. Of course, those were shotgun tags out there. I wish I would have had my bow because he gave me about a 15-yard shot.
Yeah, and that bird came in. That video's on our YouTube channel. That one came in really nice, and that was a big bird.
For Merriam's, out west, normally they don't have as big a spurs or as big a beard. That Merriam subspecies. Gorgeous tail fans on them. Lots of white in the fan. This bird decoyed. He came to the call perfectly. He just worked the decoys perfectly. He was the dominant one. He wanted to fight. He sat there and circled that Jake decoy 4 or 5 times, trying to beat him down and intimidate him. And
he read the script on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And then I hunt with a little 20 gauge shotgun that I picked up. It's like, well, if I can't use a bow, I'm going to make it a little more challenging. Although that 20 gauge has turned out to be a heck of a turkey killer. Yep. I don't think I'll ever use a 12 gauge again for turkeys. Especially hunting out west there, where you gotta, we gotta walk half mile, 2 miles sometimes into some of these areas. So having that nice little light shotgun is really nice. You gotta watch your weight, cut what you're packing in and out there. So yeah, come right in, shot him. He had a bunch of jakes and some other toms with him. That there's actually so many turkeys down there in that bottom. When I was calling, I don't think they could really hear me, the ones that were a little further away, because there were so many hens cackling and clucking and yelping down there. It was just kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And so the next day, my buddy, he didn't get anything that morning, but we saw some toms kind of come out in this one area by where we were hunting on this alfalfa field. So we moved his blind and set him up there. And the next morning, we were able to call 2 nice big toms in. And my buddy there, Jerry, 85 years old, he pulled up his 12 gauge and he unloaded on both of those gobblers coming into the decoys. And somehow they got away. There's a lot of room around him.
Yep.
And somehow he just didn't connect. And when I looked at him after he shot at them, and he looked at me and he said, "I think I got buck fever." I'm like, yeah, that was exciting. But he was happy he got an opportunity. He got to shoot his gun. Really, other than getting the turkey, it was everything he kind of wanted from that hunt. And then we hunted the next day. We set up in the morning. Had another tom come in that I ended up shooting. So that was the same type of deal. I called that one in. That one actually was a little timid. He kind of skirted my decoys a little bit, but that 20 gauge with the TSS will actually reach out there to 40 yards. So when he thought he was safe at 45 yards skirting me, he caught a face full of TSS. And that's tungsten super shot, which is denser than lead, and it flies patterns well. It's deadly stuff on turkeys.
Yeah.
It gets the job done.
Yeah, the 12 gauge version can reach out about double that distance. So.
Yeah, there's people that have shot. You shot one turkey at 60 yards with that TSS, so that's on video.
Yep.
We stepped that off. That was an awesome hunt too. It just, it's quite the advancement in the shotgun shells. It just extends your range a little bit, and it helps you, put a good shot on them turkeys and get a quick, clean kill, which is, what we want. We really don't want anything to suffer.
No.
Want to make a good shot and, have it go down right away. So, yeah, that was out in South Dakota. It was great out there. Then we got rained out, so we drove home. And then while we were driving home, I got, word from you that you were having some luck. So you want to tell us a little bit about that hunt?
Yeah, that was my just with school and everything going on, I didn't have a chance to go out west with you, so I went home and I was like, well, I'm gonna go solo turkey hunting for the first time. I'm lucky that I got a good caller as a father, so why not go with him every time? If you had Tiger Woods as your caddy, I'm sure you wouldn't go golfing without him. So I decided to take it upon myself and my skills of practicing in the car with my call to try it out. And I had one of the most eventful turkey hunt weekends I've ever had. Yeah, the first morning I got out there in the blind and I called this just monster tom in, and he wanted nothing to do with my jig decoy. He came from probably mile and a half away, but because I was hearing nothing for a while, and he just popped out of the woods and was gobbling his head off, and he just stuck out about 45 yards. And I'm a good shot, but I don't like taking turkey shots with my bow at 45.
No, 20 yards and in for turkeys with a bow is ideal.
Yep, I like them 5 yards where just all my pins are in that vital. Personally, exactly. But so I wasn't quite gonna shoot him that far, and he just did this little side strut, took a radius of 45 yards and bounced outside my decoys and just went to the side. We have a pond kind of where our food plot was there, and he just sat there gobbling for about 3 hours trying to get my hen decoy to follow him, which it was never going to. But he just never came in. He's a smart big bird. He knows, he knew something was up. So
And he's a lover, not a fighter, apparently, because he just normally a big Tom like that would try to defend his turf, and
no.
And you talk about him skirting you at 45 yards. That's the difference between shotgun hunting and bow hunting.
Oh, yeah. But and then I had a small Tom come in later that evening because I sat there all day. Went in for lunch, took a little lunch break, came back out, and one kept creeping in. I was coming right in, didn't even have to call to him. And as I was coming back to about 3/4 draw, my D-loop decided to break, and I rocked myself in the face. So that was fun. And my arrow just boinged over top of him, and he was like, "I'm out of here." So had to go back. I was done hunting that night, so I went back and tied the D-loop and went back out the next morning, and it was just cold, and it was raining, and it was just nothing was gobbling. I called a couple times, nothing. And then around around 11 or 10:30-ish, I heard just like a distant gobble, like on the other, like way, I don't know where they were, but they were far away, and I just did a slight little, cluck to them, and all of a sudden there was 3 gobbles, and they were sprinting down the lane, which is about, I don't know, was it 400 yards?
Yeah, I suppose at least that.
And, well, I know it's that distance because we tried to shoot a doe at that last year.
It's 300.
It's 300. Yep. Tried to shoot a doe from my rifle stand where the ground blind was, and I missed. So it's a long distance, and they came sprinting, and they came running in, and like that, buck fever.
Well, and what you did there is you took the next day you didn't we talked on the phone, or like, hey, a lot of these birds just ain't fighting this year. They don't feel like it.
Yeah,
they're timid for whatever reason, or it's just it could just be those are the personalities of that Tom that you're hunting. Like we talked about, it could be they've gotten beaten up by a bigger one. They could just be they're just not that aggressive.
Yeah, but whatever, it worked because I just had that hen out there, and I actually started calling them, and they just started, as soon as they saw the hen was by herself, those 3 were on a race to who could get there first. Mm-hmm. And I drew back on the first one, and I was kind of rushing my shot because I was pretty pumped that I successfully called in a turkey. And I just went for the shot, and it just turned the last second when I was full committing, and I just clean missed. And that one flew off, and the other 2 luckily just didn't know what was going on. So I reached down, grabbed another arrow, and I just really took my time. And he was quartering away, a nice easy shot. Just dropped him with the old muzzy, and that one was pretty special to me because my first solo. I mean, like I said, I've had a pretty great guide as a childhood growing up, so never really needed to hunt by myself or even wanted to. So it was pretty special to prove to myself that I could do it. And I was pretty pumped to call you on the phone and tell you I got one.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was super happy for you too. I mean, it's a big time in a hunter's life when he does that for the first time himself, calls one in and gets one, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. You don't forget that stuff.
Yeah, and that bird was beautiful. Had just a solid 8-inch beard, inch-long spurs. Nothing huge, and I've shot bigger, but I've definitely shot smaller. But it was it was a really good, perfect one. It was really beautiful. Like, it had like this kind of rust orange to its tail feathers.
Lots of white and browns, and it's had a lot of copper color to it, which is kind of neat. It's a neat coloration to it. It's people think a turkey they're all the same, but actually they're not. I mean, you can tell they all have a little different pattern to their feathers and their tail fan. Some get white tips on the tail fan. Some get different.
Yeah.
Some that have been all, just real dark.
Yeah, this one was, even it's like just normal feathers around its body were just like really vibrant with color. It was.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's, it almost looked like a Rio.
Yeah.
Grand turkey, and I don't know if it's just some of the turkeys that turkeys haven't been up north here. We live up in northern Minnesota, and I would say it's only been, probably the last 10 years or so that they for sure the last 5 have expanded.
Yeah.
But I would, like 15 years ago, there wasn't hardly any turkeys around up here, and they've moved in. They may have been planted by the DNR secretly at night. They're not admitting it, but don't quote me on that. It's just a conspiracy theory. They could have moved in from North Dakota, because we're not that far from it there. They could have followed the river systems, and there is some Rio Grandes there, so, we could have some hybrid turkeys here where they're, mating with the eastern turkey to get some of these, get those colors. But it could just be a color phase of that bird from what they're eating. We're not wildlife biologists, so.
Yeah, but it was cool nonetheless.
Yep, for sure.
It was a great hunt, but I really only had one weekend to hunt because I had to get back to school and graduate and move and all that jazz. So I was glad to get it done in the short time frame I had.
And with your bow.
And with my bow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Take Minnesota bird, And then, which brings me to my next hunt, which, I'll make that a little shorter and sweeter. So you shot your Minnesota bird and I'd shot my South Dakota birds. So then I was left with just my Minnesota archery tag, and I used a tactic that's, old as time. It's called drive around, find some turkeys on a field, go knock on the farmer's door, ask for permission to hunt, and that worked. I went scouting one night after work, and I found some turkeys. Went and knocked on the farmer's door, and he granted me permission, so I'm very thankful for that. I got up early in the morning, and this was during the week, so I thought, we'll see how this goes. If I have to, I could call into work. Anybody that works with me knows during turkey season that, I can call in at a moment's notice. I'll be in late today. It's amazing I have a job at all with the way turkey season can get sometimes.
Turkey season, walleye fishing opener, deer opener, I don't know, trapping, who knows with you?
Yeah, it's I work for a great company, and I got great people I work with, and they understand that I'm really at work to support my hunting and fishing habits. But no, I'm a dedicated employee too, and when I'm not hunting, I work hard and build up time. But yeah, for sure, I went out there, set up. Actually, never had hunted in there before. I kind of knew where I wanted to go, so I'm walking in there in the dark, and I, find a spot that looked good on the edge of this woods. There was a cut cornfield. That's another little tip. If you can find a field that was corn the year before, and there's some nice woods in it, or on the edge of it, or by it, where the turkeys can roost at night, there's a good chance there's going to be turkeys out there.
Yep.
They don't get all the corn when they combine it, and then turkeys, they like to go out there and scratch and dig and pick that up. So this was a money deal. There was I got back in this back corner of this field, and there was a nice big bunch of mature trees that the turkeys could roost in. I was able to set my ground blind up in a spot where there was kind of a little hay field in between two chunks of woods, and then on my right was a big cornfield that had been cut, and that's what those there was 3 toms and a bunch of hens that I saw the night before feeding out there. So I set up and I started calling. I could hear the gobbles. They were pretty long ways away. I had bumped a hen out of the roost setting up. She was actually roosted in a tree right above me, and I was like, oof, that's not good. But she ended up, it almost sounded like she just flew a little further into the woods and just hopped in another tree. So same routine. I usually wait till, shooting light, then I start calling, and pretty soon I could hear gobbling, and then all of a sudden this hen popped out on the field, and then a couple more hens popped out, and then here come those 3 gobblers behind her, and then a few of these jakes too, and I just started calling, and I had that one gobbler just fired up, and he was answering me, and he started strutting, and then pretty soon he broke away from his hens, which is, what we want them to do, but they don't always want to do that, because this one wanted to fight. He saw my jake decoy, and it was the right time of year, and he did not want this other jake in there.
It was on.
It was on. He come in and he throttled that decoy. And he was a big gobbler, nice big, 10, 11-inch beard, big spurs, heavy bird. He was a good one, and he beat up my decoy pretty good. Actually, when I drew back on him the first time, my peep sight turned because, my bow I put new strings and cables and new limbs. I basically rebuilt my bow this winter, so that peep sight, the strings aren't stretched in, so it hasn't quite settled in, so I still got to mess with it a little bit. And for those of you that don't know, a peep sight is this little circle that goes in your string that you look through. It's almost like your rear sight on a rifle. Yep. So you look at this sight on your string and you put your pin in there, and you front sight, and then it helps you line up so you can repeat the same shot sequence. But
quickly tell us what bow you're shooting.
So I'm shooting. We shoot PSE bows. We've shot them for years. We were actually on the pro staff with PSE for hunting and target shooting. Field staff for years. We're just very, they don't make a bad bow anymore.
No.
We like PSE because they're fast.
They have our draw length.
Yeah, they have our draw length. We're 6'4", so 30-inch draw.
Yeah, for you, I got a 32.
Right. So it's they're a great bow for us. They shoot fast. We've won a lot of tournaments with them. Yep. We've shot a lot of animals with them. They're a great bow. Like I said, they don't make a bad bow. No. But in our opinion, PSE is the best. Maybe someday they'll hear that, and then they'll up our, pro staff level a little bit.
One can hope.
One can hope. But anyway, the bow I was shooting is an Evolve. I think and I just love that bow. So actually, I've had it a few years now. It just fits me so well. It shoots so well. It just, I just like everything about it. So, I actually cracked one of my limbs due to a electric bike accident that, I found out the hard way that I can't drive it on ice, especially when that is hidden underneath the snow. That was a wreck of epic proportions. I looked like, when I hit that, I looked like I was in the X Games because, not many people can make an electric bike fly sideways through the air at about 30 miles an hour, but I did. I did not stick the landing, however. But I remember as I was flying through the air, all I could think of was like, okay, tuck your chin. This is how you know you've crashed a few times. 'Cause I'm like, don't hit your head. That's all I could think to myself.
Tuck your chin and curl up your arms and roll.
Yeah, I was just trying to tuck into a ball, but and of course I had my bow we use those bow slings to carry him into the woods. And anyway, I crashed and cracked my limb. So anyway, I ended up putting all new limbs. And then when I was doing that, I put new strings and cables on. I bought Vapor Trail strings and cables. Shout out to them. Everything came perfect, so I was able to rebuild that bow from top to bottom. It shoots lights out. So like I said, when this turkey come in, he was beating up that decoy, and I pulled back, and my new strings haven't stretched in all the way, so it's pretty close now where the peep sight's doing the same thing, so I just gotta pop it in the bow press and just give it a quarter turn and it'll be right on. Just turn the string, take one twist out, it'll be money, and it'll pull back perfectly every time, so I can see through it. So I had to let down. I turned the peep sight, redrew my bow. This is how much time I had, right?
Yeah.
He was not leaving this Jake decoy till he had pounded it into the ground. So, and I drew back, and he was kind of quartering towards me, and a turkey's vital actually sits up higher in their body than most people realize. You put a perfect shot on your turkey. I screenshotted your video. I was going to send that to you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll send that to you so you can, maybe we make that as a thumbnail, or we put it on something, or, you can post that picture of perfect shot placement. I actually froze it in time, and you can see your arrow hitting just perfectly of where that vital is. And, it's like if a turkey's facing you, you want to shoot him in between the beard and then that red, the wattles, the red part on the neck. There's like a 3-inch spot there. And then, the same thing, if you carry that all along the side, obviously if they got their back to you, you can just shoot them,
dead center.
Right where the tail feathers meet the back feathers. You can see where it changes color there. That hits them right in the vital. You hit the spine, you hit the head, the neck, all those will kill the turkey. With their heart and lungs, they're about the size of a little orange.
Yeah.
It's a small vital, but it sits high up in their body. There's an old saying says, shoot them high, watch them die. Shoot them low, watch them go. And that's true, because you and I have both, unfortunately, lost turkeys that we hit a little bit low. They lived because you just shoot them through the breast meat. And,
yeah, they don't care. Turkeys don't care.
They heal up. They're tough as hell. They're tougher than deer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I shot a turkey in South Dakota one time that I put an arrow clean through him, broke. He had a broken hip. Both his hips were broken, and he's bleeding all over, and he was still chasing the hen like nothing happened to him. I had to quick grab another arrow and shoot him again to put him down. A lot of times you'll shoot an arrow right through a deer, but it won't go through a turkey.
No.
They got a rib cage like it's like an armored tank.
Yeah, and their feathers, their wings and stuff, it stops arrows.
We've seen people shoot them with a 12 gauge, roll them, they pop right back up and take off running.
Yep.
They're tough. They're just tough. And they can take an arrow like there's no tomorrow. Like that one in the video that I shot, put a perfect shot right through his vitals, quartering away. I think there was blood on my Jake decoy.
You just
be graphic, but it's a hunting podcast, so
you just didn't hit its spine, so it.
No, and his brain was like, "Oh, we're fine," and no, you're not fine.
No,
your heart and lungs are missing. You took about 2-3 steps, made a half turn, and tipped over dead.
Yeah.
And the cool part about that video is I didn't even realize, this is crazy, this is how focused I was on my target. I didn't even realize that those other,
the birds were running in.
And that young Tom come in. I didn't even realize that 4 birds came in until I watched the video back. But, once it was on YouTube, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That was, that turned out to be a great shot, video-wise. And it was super cool. But yeah, called that Tom in, put a great shot on him, messed around with his buddies, calling at him, just getting them to gobble. And, and then that was pretty much the last bird of the turkey season for us. So
yeah,
we took took a few more people out to hunt, and
Yeah, we got Mama Turkey.
yeah, took your mom out hunting, got her one. That was a fun hunt.
Shout out, Mom.
Yep, shout out to your mom. So that was fun. That was lots of calling and lots of repositioning and trying to work birds and late season, and that was a good one too.
Yeah, I'll quickly kind of jump back. I shoot an Evolve 34 for PSE as well. That just, I mean, it's the only bow that has his is a 32. It's just the only bow that's got my draw length. I got orangutan arms for, I don't know, some reason, mutation, but yeah.
Reaching shelves, that's what that's for.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I'd say it was a very successful turkey season. Definitely challenging, and one I learned a lot from.
Yeah, it was a lot. That's the great thing about hunting turkeys is it's always different. You just gotta figure out what the birds want, what they respond to. You got to be where they're at. You got to give them what they want. You got to adapt and overcome. That's why I love it. Yeah, super challenging.
Yeah, now we'll be transitioning. I mean, this weekend we're going for our maiden voyage on Lake of the Woods. Gonna do some walleye fishing.
Yeah, I am chomping at the bit for that. I've been working on the boat in the evenings, getting it all ready.
Yep, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, just people want to know. I've had some friends ask me, like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, luckily I don't own the boat, so I'm not doing much right now, but I know my dad is working every night. So, like, let's break us down what upgrades or things you get ready, or de-winterizing. What do you do to get your boat ready for the season?
Yep. So obviously, when we take it, when we put it away in the fall, we winterize that boat. So you want to make sure you put some fuel stabilizer in, and you want to drain all of the water out of it, and you just take all your batteries out. So like if you have a heated shop, you don't have to worry about all that, but we have cold storage, so we have to take all our batteries out and drain everything down, and get the engines ready for storage and fuel stabilizer and all that good stuff in there. We usually run the engines a little bit, put some fuel stabilizer in at the end of the year, and then make sure that gets ran through the motor as well. Otherwise, your gasoline can break down, and your boat's not going to run good. We had a lot of we have been we've been wanting side scan. We do a lot of trolling crankbaits. We like to troll, and we fish every way there is to fish.
Yeah.
We slip bobber, we pitch, we throw swim baits, we jig, we pull bottom bouncers with spinners and crawlers. I mean, we're going to do whatever the technique we need to do to catch fish is what we're going to do.
Yep. We've also done that every single thing in one day to try and catch fish.
Yeah, that's a fact. You just got to figure out, once again, that's why I like walleye fishing, is you got to figure out what they want. My favorite way to fish them, is to pull crankbaits. So we're trolling for those, and Lake of the Woods is such a huge lake that the main thing is just finding the fish. You got to cover ground, you got to cover water, you got to find the fish. We don't use guides ever.
No.
We do a lot of guiding.
Yeah, we are the guides.
We are the guides. So, we have to have our techniques that break down the water. And one of the ways to cover water the fastest is to troll. So a lot of times we'll troll until we find the fish, and then we turn around, then we spin, or once we find them, then we turn around and go back through them and work them and, catch them and put them in the boat. And like Jake said, a lot of times, sometimes you have to switch, to live bait or to jigging or to, you just got to do what you got to do to catch them. So one of the things we wanted was side imaging, which Humminbird makes. So we're actually, we've used Lowrance for years. We got, we still use Lowrance drafts, but we're or Lawrence, whatever you want to say, and I say Lowrance. But Humminbird I love their mapping system for their GPS. Their GPS chart. It's got a nice mapping system, and then I like the side imaging on it. And of course, you have the, the Mega Live and the Mega 360 and all that stuff, the new stuff that's out. We don't have that yet. We're working on that. Maybe when, this podcast takes off and then Humminbird wants to sponsor us, we can get all that new electronics on, the state-of-the-art stuff on there. But for now, we're upgrading for us to the side imaging, which is going to help us the most, because even with, like a Humminbird Mega Live, you have to you'd have to stop and point your forward-facing sonar out there to find these fish. What the side scan allows us to do is we can drive the boat while trolling and still fishing, and yet look right and left to how far out those fish are, because a lot of times it's just the difference between sliding out from 8 feet to 12 feet or 8 feet to 6 feet. It's going to help us cut down the amount of time looking for these walleyes. So I'm putting new graphs on the boat, and it seems like whenever I put a new graph on a boat, I tear into the wiring, and then I'm like, oh, I need to redo all this wiring because I don't like how they've done it before. I like to, I am an electrician by trade, so, I know a little bit about wiring, so I rewire just about every boat I buy, to make it work a little better for us. So we're upgrading the graphs. We're also putting a Troll Master on, which will allow us to use our kicker motor. It's like a remote control for your kicker motor to control the speed up and down, which will be nice because you can just sit up front, in your captain's chair, and you can instead of having to, adjust the speed on the motor. We can do that from that chair, and you can also hit the idle button when you got a net of fish. And so, but anyway, it's all electronic stuff we got to add. So I've been working on that. We have a little spot out there that we were fishing last year, trying to pitch some crankbaits up to. And, I was thinking this, but you were actually the first one to say it out loud, because when we go bass fishing, we've been using these swim baits.
Yep.
And then we've seen that, Jason Mitchell had posted his video showing his, he's using that new Northland eye candy swim bait, basically.
Yeah,
it's like a 3-inch paddle,
Looks the same as what you'd use for bass fishing swim baits, just a little bigger.
Yeah, and, we were both like, geez, if we had those and we're pitching that, our secret rock pile that we won't tell anybody where it's at. But
it's on the water.
It's on the water. If you have a rock pile that's in like 10 feet of water and tops out to like 8 feet on top, or even, even deeper, even at 20 feet comes up to 8 feet, or, it's 8 feet off the bottom, or heck, I don't need weed edges, all kinds of different structure that we were like, geez, we could throw these swim baits in there and clean up on these fish. I think they'll just hammer them. So, you brought that up, and I'm like, oh, it's funny you say that. I was thinking the same thing.
Yep.
You can cast them a long ways. They get down to the bottom. They look just like a shiner or a minnow swimming or a shad. The bass absolutely crush them.
Yep.
And I've always said that a walleye doesn't know he's not a bass. So, he don't care. He sees that coming by, and so we're gonna try that.
Yeah.
I think that'll be exciting. My plan is I think we'll go trolling first, and see if we can get our walleyes, and then after we get our fish in the live well, then we'll go experiment a little for fun. And see if we can get some stuff to work. But I know the fish are going. The fish are biting. I was just down to my buddy's house in South Dakota helping him. We were trying to get him a turkey. Called one in. He just didn't quite connect on it. But in his defense, it was a long shot, and the turkey was alerted, but it was he had no choice. It was either, well, shoot now or, but he just a couple steps closer and he'd have had it. So it was just it's one of those things where the turkey had us pinned and he had to shoot now or nothing. If he'd have hit it, he'd have been a hero.
Yep.
But that's how it goes. Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So he felt bad, but he did have to cave into the peer pressure of me sitting there telling him, shoot it.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that.
Yeah, I'm like, there he is, take him. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. We had fun hunting that, turkey hunting. We went out fishing in the afternoon. We got on some monster bluegills.
Yeah, I mean, the photo he sent me, he sent me a Coke can next to the bluegill, and it looked like one of those baby mini Coke cans you give your kids.
Yeah, these bluegills are crazy. I mean, they're 10, 11 inches long.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a trophy bluegill. A 1 pound bluegill is like the same as catching a 30-inch walleye or a 10-pound walleye.
Yeah.
And we caught our limit of them. We had 20 of those. So it'd be like going out and catching 20, 30-inch walleyes. I mean, insane.
Yeah,
insane.
It was crazy. I was very jealous to be still unpacking from the move.
Yeah, I felt sorry for you. I was like, geez, you should be here. So, yeah, we, found this little lake and went out there, and it's kind of a little secret about this. And, we set up and found a nice, same thing, a sunken rock pile, off of a point. And then all the fish we kept, all but 2 of them were males, which was perfect because, you leave the females to spawn, so we got a nice meal of giant fish and they're all that big. So it wasn't like we were keeping all the big ones.
Yeah.
It's just every one you caught was like that. I mean, it was crazy. So that was a ton of fun. We went walleye fishing too, and the walleyes are going down there and the northerns are going. We did some trolling, we did some slip bobbering, caught fish both ways. So yeah, I'm excited to get on Lake of the Woods. I mean, I think a bite is going to be on. If anybody listens to this, if you're waiting to go walleye fishing, you don't need to wait anymore. Just get out there. I've heard the fish are they've been catching them in like 5 to 9 feet of water. So it's that typical spring shallow walleye bite, So I'm excited for that. I've heard the good colors are perch color. It's been working really well. Greens, stuff like that. But we'll do some experimenting. I actually caught some on a purple descent, I believe is the color. It's kind of a purple and white shad wrap made by Rapala. It was working pretty good for me. So, but yeah, exciting. I'm ready to get out on the boat. Yeah. Sad turkey season is ending, but that's how it goes. And we just roll with the seasons. That's what we do here at the Racks and Reels podcast and Lindeman Outdoors. We just live that outdoor lifestyle, man. So,
we put away the decoys and take out the rods.
Literally what I did today.
Yep. Yeah, so.
Activate the ground blinds and.
Yeah, we're gonna
camo till fall and.
Yeah, we're gonna record our main voyage as well. We're gonna get out the GoPros and the camera as much as we can, and we'll film as much as we can. It's fishing, so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited about it. I'm gonna see if I can make a fun video for y'all. But yeah, we'll break it down. Jeremy, is there anything else you want to say?
I think we covered what we got going on so far. I'm excited for fishing. We got a couple tournaments we're gonna fish. We got 3 or 4 weekends of we'll call it guiding people lined up to fish. Yep. It's going to be a heck of a season. So, it'll be fun.
Yep. Well, thank y'all for joining us today. You can follow us on our YouTube, Lindemann Outdoors, and see us. There you can see us in action. You can listen to this podcast everywhere on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and in our YouTube channel. I posted on there. So, and we're also going to get some merch out for y'all. So stay tuned for that. It's coming very soon. I'm working on it as we speak. So, but yeah, stay tuned for that. And I think you guys will like it. So we'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.